We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Still going strong here on the Cowboys Fan Show. Now, we've reached segment 4, Scott. In segment 4, we're going to take a look around the division, the NFC East. Let's start it off here. The Giants were taking on the New Orleans Saints at the Meadowlands in New Jersey this week. As we'll start it off here, beautiful pass to OBJ over the middle, tough catch in traffic, and Eli again has all day like he did in week 1, airs it out, and that's a big catch by Sterling Shepard. He actually led the Giants in receiving this week. Now Drew Brees goes right over the middle, beautiful touchdown. I believe that was Snead on that catch, looked like. And now another play action for Brees, going deep. And you know, one thing with Drew Brees, Scott, it seems like every time he throws it, it's 20 yards, 30 yards, and it's always complete.
Yeah, no, he spreads the field, absolutely, does a fantastic job.
First ballot Hall of Famer? He's got the Super Bowl.
He's got time, let's see.
Now there's number 80 with a beautiful catch in traffic. Victor Cruz didn't quite get into that blue paint there. He couldn't do his salsa dance, but still, that was just a beautiful catch.
And great coverage, too.
Now 13-13. Time expires. That's going to be it. The New York Football Giants win that one against the Saints 16-13. Now, when these two teams played last year, Scott, the quarterbacks combined for 850-plus passing yards. This game this year, completely different story, 180.
Absolutely right, and 180, I think that's like how many millions of dollars New York spent on their defense in the offseason, and that's why I think it's really impressive the fact that they were actually able to hold. That's an explosive offense, and they held them to 13 points. Did a great job. The Giants, they're looking pretty good.
I mean, they didn't necessarily have the point total, but Eli Manning, he was 32 for 41. He threw for 368 yards, zero touchdowns.
A couple of turnovers limited him, but he's efficient. And that's what Eli does.
As I said, Shane Vereen led the Giants in rushing with that game. 14 carries, 42 yards, and Shepard was their leading receiver. 8 catches for 117 yards. This is the Giants' first 2-0 start since 2009, Scott.
Yeah, they're looking good. I wish Terrence Williams would have run out of bounds. So maybe they're 1-1 and we're 2-0, so it's close. But they're looking phenomenal. They picked up some playmakers on defense, and they're playing well together. That's a good defense right there. It's probably going to be one of the top defenses that we had to see all year. So thankfully we got through it in week 1, and I think that's why, like I said, Zeke's numbers are so low as he had to play those guys. I think his average is going to get better, but yeah, the New York, they're looking good.
Now we've seen Washington, we've seen New York. I know we're those guys in Philly. We got to take a look at the Eagles. They played Monday Night Football against the Bears. Now this one was just a beatdown from the start. Carson Wentz looking good in his second NFL start. Scott.
Yeah, he's doing all right. Absolutely, spreading the field.
He's going to hand it off to Ryan Matthews. Matthews' second effort gets him in. And you know what we call that right there, Scott?
What do you call that, Tyler?
Fantasy points for my team.
That is, really?
Yeah.
You drafted Matthews?
I was stuck, man.
All right.
Looks like a good pick so far.
No
now,
excuse.
Back to the Bears. Cutler, he's still in right here. He would actually leave the game a little bit later in the third quarter, a right thumb injury that's on his throwing hand. He said he was unable to grip the ball, lost a lot of his strength, so he pulled himself out of the game. Caught quite a bunch of criticism for that, and a nice little bubble screen here for Philly, getting it in once again.
Absolutely. Turnovers, they lead to points, yeah, they're doing a good job. Their front 7 in Phillies, they're also looking pretty good.
So there goes Cutler back to the locker room. He's a question mark for this Sunday's game against the Cowboys. You see his stat line, 12 for 17, 157 yards. Didn't really do a whole lot. But in comes Brian Hoyer. The Brian Hoyer. He used to play for Houston.
He did, yep. And I think that's why they were trying to hand the ball off a lot. And there was a turnover right there on a fumble.
There goes Matthews,
back to Matthews,
getting around the corner and just carrying a bunch of Bears on his back.
Absolutely.
Never thought I'd see an Eagle carry some Bears, but Matthews once again finds pay dirt. The Eagles are victorious on Monday Night Football, 29-14 now. Little side note, this is the Eagles 2-0. They're 2-0. Each win being by at least 14 points. Now the last 13 teams to start 2-0 winning by 14 plus each made the playoffs.
Oh, did they? Okay, well, I don't even know what to do with that.
Little dicey there. Also, Carson Wentz, 2-0 as a starter. He is the first rookie quarterback to start and win his first 2 career NFL starts with 0 turnovers since the AFL-NFL merger, ladies and gentlemen. That was a long time ago, and Carson Wentz is the first guy to do it.
Well, on a side note there's another rookie who almost won in week 1, lost by 1 point. There was a questionable, somebody didn't run out of bounds at the very last minute or whatnot, who also doesn't have any turnovers, and his name is Dak Prescott. So, I mean, 1 more point gets scored in that game. That's twice since the merger.
You saw the 2 Ryan Matthews touchdowns. That was his first game with 2 rushing touchdowns since week 15 of 2011, ladies and gentlemen. Well,
the Bears have a questionable run defense. I think they're like 30th in the league. They give up a lot of yards on the ground. So if they were going to do that, that was the week for him to do. It was good job starting him last week, Tyler.
So we've seen all 4 teams in the division this week. So this begs the question: who is the Cowboys' biggest threat in the division this year, Scott?
Honestly, right now, I'd have to say it's New York due to the fact that we're 0-1 against them, and we had those guys at home. So we have to go into their house, and we have to beat them just to shore that up, and I think that makes them a larger threat. Not worried about Washington. Obviously, we just came away with a win in their house. We got to see how we do against Philly.
Philly, I agree. Philly looks really good. Carson Wentz has looked spectacular his first 2 starts. Now, I think that is all a tribute to the coaching strategy. You know, instead of putting him under center, they're sitting him back in the shotgun. He's not having those blitzes come up the A-gap. He can see them coming from the outside, and he's good about reading his routes, his progressions, his hot routes. Carson Wentz doing a fantastic job, not to take anything away from him, but Dak Prescott, man, he's doing that much better.
Well, they're both doing phenomenal, and that's the thing is both of the coaching staffs are doing a good job of really bringing those guys along.
Right.
They're playing to their strengths, which is what you have to do when you're developing a quarterback. You know, so they're both looking pretty good. Carson's looking really good, and Peterson's doing a good job of play calling up there in Philly right now.
Yeah, Doug Peterson came from Boise State, I believe, from the college ranks, you know, taking over his first NFL head coaching job, doing a fantastic job. A lot better than the guy that previously coached him. He's down in San Fran now, I'd say.
Yeah. Honestly, I am a little bit worried about Philly. Not too bad. Their front 7 is doing a great job, but they've also had a couple of easy games to play. You know, some soft defenses. You know, Cleveland to start, Chicago this week. You know, and they came with some big wins, but against some easier teams than we've played. I think that Carson Wentz is going to struggle a lot more against the pass rush that New York has than Cleveland or anything Chicago had to offer.
You know, we have Vernon and JPP on either end. You know, those guys are each a handful. And we saw what JPP did to Doug Free in week 1, just ate his lunch almost every play.
He sure did. He looked terrible. JPP was getting constant pressure right there, and same like our coaching staff to keep Dak safe this week. We did a lot of bootlegs and rollout plays and whatnot, and it's the same thing that Peterson's doing in Philly. So we just got to get over there, and we just got to see where the talent takes us.
So Scott says New York is the biggest threat to Dallas. I agree wholeheartedly. That was our look around the division, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We're going to look ahead to the Sunday night football clash against the Chicago Bears coming up next on the Cowboys Fan Show.
Let's go Cowboys!